Florida manatees are listed as endangered by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and thus they're also listed as endangered by the state of Florida. Their population has been increasing over the last few years. We've seen positive signs there. We try to conduct a census every year, a count, and it's a minimum count. We fly in airplanes around the state during the winter when it's cold, and the manatees have aggregated at warm water sites such as power plants and natural springs, and we try to get a minimum count of manatees, and those numbers have been going up. It's very difficult to compare them year to year because of differences in visibility and weather conditions, but the general trend has been increasing. Our highest minimum count is just over 5,000 manatees. There's probably more than that because we know we don't see every single one. Probably the chief and most visible concern with manatees is watercraft strike. But in recent years, we've had several very cold winters in a row, and we lost lots of manatees due to the cold. Manatees are a tropical animal. They require water temperatures of 20 degrees centigrade or warmer, and when water temperatures drop below that, they can suffer from what we call cold stress syndrome. It's kind of like frostbite in humans. And that's why during the winter months they tend to aggregate at warm water sites like natural springs or the outflow of power plants. And that's where warm water is released into the environment, and the manatees will gather there and stay warm. And when they get hungry, they'll go out and feed, and then they'll come right back to that warm water. And they tend to stay there during the winter. But in 2009 and 10, and 2010 and 11, we had some very cold weather that killed literally hundreds of manatees, and that was all due to the cold. So that can be a major threat. It's a natural threat. It's part of nature. It's something we have to deal with, and the manatees have to deal with. But the next biggest threat is definitely watercraft, and manatees swim in the same waters that people are driving their boats in, and being struck by a boat can have catastrophic consequences for a manatee. But then also in areas where we know that there are a lot of manatees navigating the waterways, and it's also a popular boating area, we may institute a specific manatee speed zone that slows boats down to slow speed or even to idle speed, which is just about as slow as you can possibly go in order to protect manatees. And that's done through a lot of research in terms of where manatees are, when they're there, because sometimes they're just seasonal zones. Their zone is only in effect during the manatee season, which might be November through March.